Ladies and gentlemen, silence, many misunderstand it. It is often seen as an absence, a void. Yet in truth, silence is not an empty space, it is the canvas upon which clarity is painted. Silence is not the lack of noise, but the presence of something much deeper: focus, reflection, and power. Silence is often misunderstood. Many people see it as emptiness, a void, something to be filled or avoided. But silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of something much more profound. It is the presence of focus, control, and reflection. Silence holds an immense power that is often overlooked in a world that constantly demands noise, activity, and response. Yet it is in silence that we often find the answers we seek, the clarity we need, and the wisdom that eludes us in the chaos of everyday life. We are constantly surrounded by noise. From the moment we wake up to the time we go to sleep, there is rarely a moment of peace. Our world is filled with distractions, voices, music, media, and the endless hum of the world spinning around us. But true communication, the kind that speaks to the heart, goes beyond words. Words are limited. They can only convey so much. Silence, on the other hand, speaks in ways that words cannot. It communicates on a deeper level, where true understanding happens. It is in silence that we often hear the most important things, the whisper of our own hearts, the voice of reason, and the wisdom that resides deep within. To embrace silence is to embrace the opportunity to reflect. Reflection is the key to growth, understanding, and wisdom. When we step into silence, we step into a space where we can pause and assess our lives. In the stillness, we find the ability to look inward, to examine our thoughts, feelings, and actions without the noise of the world interfering. It is in silence that we are able to truly understand ourselves. We can make sense of the clutter in our minds and reconnect with our true purpose. The power of silence is not just found in its ability to help us reflect, but also in its ability to help us control ourselves. In a world that encourages constant reaction, silence requires discipline. It demands that we pause before we speak, that we listen before we respond, and that we consider before we act. It is easy to be swept away by the noise around us, to react impulsively, to let emotions dictate our responses. But silence offers us the power to step back, to assess the situation, and to respond thoughtfully and with purpose. It is in the silence that we learn self-control, and self-control is the key to mastering our actions and decisions. Silence is also a tool in the decision-making process. Often we make decisions hastily, driven by emotion or external pressure. But in silence, we find the space to consider our choices with clarity. In the stillness, our minds are free to process information without the interference of external distractions. We are able to align our decisions with our values, our purpose, and our vision for the future. The noise of the world may rush us into making quick decisions, but silence gives us the time to be deliberate and thoughtful. In the quiet, we find the courage to make choices that are aligned with who we truly are, not who the world expects us to be. In times of conflict, silence holds incredible power. It may seem counterintuitive, but silence can be the most powerful response in difficult situations. When emotions are running high, when words are being exchanged in anger or frustration, silence has the ability to bring calm. It provides space for emotions to settle, for minds to cool, and for clarity to emerge. In silence, we are no longer driven by our impulses, but can instead respond from a place of wisdom and composure. Silence in conflict does not mean withdrawal or avoidance. It means taking a step back to allow for understanding and resolution. Sometimes saying nothing speaks louder than any argument could. Furthermore, silence is a vital element in building and sustaining relationships. In our relationships with others, we often think that communication requires constant talking. But the truth is that silence can foster deeper connection. When we are silent, we create space for the other person to speak, to share their thoughts and feelings freely without interruption. Silence allows us to listen deeply and with intention. It is in these moments of shared silence that understanding, trust, and empathy are cultivated. Silence provides the fertile ground for relationships to grow and flourish. In conclusion, silence is not an absence but a presence, an active, intentional presence that holds the power to transform our lives. It is in silence that we find clarity, wisdom, and strength. Silence allows us to reflect, to control, to decide, and to connect. It teaches us to listen, to think, and to respond with purpose. In a world that is often noisy and chaotic, silence offers us the opportunity to pause, to breathe, and to discover the power that lies within. When we learn to embrace silence, we unlock a world of possibilities, both within ourselves and in our relationships with others. It is in the power of silence that we find our true strength. Communication is often seen as an exchange of words, but true communication goes far beyond that. While words are the primary tools we use to express ourselves, they are limited. Words can only convey so much. They can fail to capture the depth of emotion, the subtleties of thought, and the complexity of meaning. Silence, on the other hand, transcends these limitations. It communicates in ways that words often cannot. In fact, silence is the foundation upon which the most profound communication is built. Silence holds a unique power to communicate deeper meanings, those that lie beyond the surface level. Think about moments in life when words are insufficient: a comforting hug, a knowing glance, a pause in a conversation that speaks volumes. These moments of silence often communicate more than any words could. A moment of silence can convey empathy, understanding, or agreement in a way that words might fail to do. It is in these moments that we connect on a deeper, more authentic level, where true communication takes place. In relationships, silence allows for understanding without the need for constant explanation. We often think that the more we talk, the better we communicate, but this is not always the case. Sometimes the most profound understanding comes when we stop talking and start listening, not just to the words that are spoken, but to the unspoken message. The pauses between words, the tone of voice, the body language, all of these elements convey meaning in silence. In the quiet moments, we pick up on these subtle cues, and it is here that we truly understand each other. Silence allows us to tune into the deeper layers of communication that words can miss. Furthermore, silence is the space in which clarity is born. In the rush of conversation, we often speak over each other, trying to get our thoughts out as quickly as possible. But clarity comes when we give ourselves time to process, reflect, and listen. When we embrace silence, we allow our minds to absorb the message fully without the distraction of immediate response. It is in silence that we can step back and gain perspective, seeing things from a clearer, more thoughtful point of view. This is the power of silence in communication. It allows for greater understanding and deeper connection. Silence also gives us the ability to communicate with ourselves. In the noise of the world, we often lose touch with our own thoughts and feelings. We become so focused on external communication that we neglect the internal dialogue that shapes our perceptions and decisions. Silence provides us with the space to listen to our inner voice, to process our emotions, and to understand our own needs. When we quiet the external noise, we create the conditions for true self-communication, which is essential for personal growth and clarity. In times of conflict or misunderstanding, silence becomes even more powerful. It is easy to jump into a heated argument or to respond defensively when we feel attacked or misunderstood. But silence offers the opportunity to step back, to pause, and to allow emotions to settle. In those moments of silence, we can gain insight into the true nature of the issue at hand. Silence helps us to listen not just to the words of the other person, but to the feelings and motivations that lie behind those words. It helps us to see the bigger picture and understand the situation with greater depth and clarity. Ultimately, the nature of communication is not confined to words. Silence, as a form of communication, is an essential part of how we understand and connect with others. It allows us to convey meaning that words cannot, to listen deeply and attentively, and to gain clarity in moments of confusion. Silence creates the space for true understanding, and in this space, communication becomes a tool for connection, growth, and transformation. Through silence, we discover that communication is not just about speaking, but about truly hearing, feeling, and connecting at a deeper level. In the noise of the world, it's easy to lose ourselves. We are constantly bombarded by external distractions, voices, sounds, and demands that tug at our attention from every direction. The fast-paced rhythm of daily life often drowns out the most important voice of all, our own. Silence offers us the rare opportunity to step away from this noise, to pause and to reflect. In this stillness, we find the space to reconnect with our inner selves and rediscover the wisdom that often lies hidden beneath the surface of our busy minds. Reflection requires a deliberate choice to quiet the noise, to create a space where we can look inward. In silence, we are not distracted by the demands of others or the constant rush of the world. We can take a moment to assess where we are in life, to think about our actions, our relationships, and our goals. It is in these quiet moments that we gain clarity and perspective on our journey. When we embrace silence, we invite the opportunity to reflect on who we are, who we become, and who we want to be. Reflection allows us to examine our past experiences with a clear mind. Without the distractions that pull our attention away, we can look back on our actions, decisions, and relationships and see them from a different perspective. In the stillness, we can identify the lessons we've learned, the areas in which we've grown, and the places where we still need to change. It is through this process of reflection that wisdom begins to emerge. Wisdom is not something that can be taught directly, it is something that is revealed in the quiet moments of introspection. It is only when we stop to reflect that we can recognize the lessons embedded in our experiences and gain the insight we need to move forward. Silence also offers us the opportunity to rejuvenate our spirits. Constant noise and activity can deplete our mental and emotional energy. We may find ourselves overwhelmed, tired, and disconnected from our sense of purpose. But when we intentionally embrace silence, we allow ourselves the chance to rest and recharge. Silence gives us the time to recover from the stresses of daily life and to restore our sense of balance and peace. It is in the quiet moments that we can find rest for our souls, rejuvenating ourselves from the inside out. This renewal strengthens us, prepares us for the challenges ahead, and helps us approach life with a clearer and more focused mind. Moreover, silence helps us reconnect with our true selves. In a world that often defines us by our roles, achievements, and relationships, it is easy to forget who we are beneath all of that. We become so caught up in external expectations and demands that we lose touch with our inner desires and passions. Silence offers the opportunity to return to the essence of who we are. In the stillness, we can hear the voice of our heart, reminding us of our values, our dreams, and our purpose. It is in silence that we strip away the layers of external noise and reconnect with the core of our being, rediscovering the person we were always meant to be. Silence also reveals wisdom in the sense that it allows us to listen to our intuition, to the guidance of our inner voice, and to the wisdom that lies within. In the stillness, we become more attuned to the subtle nudges of our hearts and minds. Often the answers to the questions we seek are already inside us, waiting to be uncovered. It is in silence that we create the conditions for those answers to rise to the surface. Silence invites us to trust our inner wisdom, to listen to the quiet voice that speaks when the world falls silent. In times of uncertainty or confusion, silence becomes even more valuable. When we are faced with difficult decisions or challenges, the noise of the world can cloud our judgment. But in the stillness, we find the clarity we need to make wise choices. Silence allows us to detach from the pressure and emotions that often accompany decision-making, helping us to see the situation more clearly and to respond with confidence. In the quiet moments of life, we find the space to reflect, rejuvenate, and reconnect with our deepest selves. It is in silence that wisdom often reveals itself, not through external noise or constant distraction, but in the stillness of our minds and hearts. Through reflection, we gain the insight we need to move forward with purpose, to heal from the wounds of the past, and to align ourselves with our truest path. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the presence of a deeper, more meaningful connection with ourselves and with the wisdom that resides within. Silence is often viewed as merely the absence of sound, but in reality it is much more than that. Silence is a powerful, intentional choice and act of discipline that requires us to quiet not just the world around us, but our own impulses, thoughts, and emotions. In a world filled with noise and constant distractions, choosing silence is a deliberate decision to listen, to observe, and to absorb. It is a practice that demands focus, self-control, and patience. Silence is not something that happens by accident. It is a skill, a discipline that must be cultivated with intention. At its core, silence is the choice to listen more deeply. We are constantly bombarded by the noise of the world, voices, music, media, and the internal chatter of our own minds. In the midst of this, true listening becomes a rare skill. To truly listen, we must silence our own thoughts, our judgments, and our responses. We must stop thinking about what we are going to say next and instead focus fully on the other person, on the moment. This requires discipline, as it is easy to allow our own voices to dominate our attention. But in silence, we create the space for others to speak, for ideas to form, and for wisdom to emerge. True listening is a silent act, one that requires us to let go of the urge to fill the space with our own thoughts or words. Silence also calls us to observe with intent. It is easy to pass through life distracted, to miss the details that are happening around us. But silence gives us the opportunity to notice what we might otherwise overlook. When we are silent, we are no longer distracted by the noise of the world. We can pay attention to the small, often unnoticed things. In this space, we become more aware of the people around us, the environment we are in, and the subtle cues that reveal deeper truths. Silence allows us to engage with the world around us in a more meaningful way, to see things as they truly are, rather than through the filter of our own biases and distractions. Observation, when done in silence, opens our eyes to insights that words alone cannot convey. To absorb is another essential aspect of silence. In a noisy world, we are often overwhelmed by information, opinions, and external demands. But silence provides us with the opportunity to absorb what truly matters. Without the constant influx of information, we can reflect on what we have learned, internalize important lessons, and let new ideas settle within us. Silence gives us the space to process the things we encounter in life and integrate them into our understanding of the world. It allows us to move from simply hearing to truly understanding, from surface-level engagement to deep, meaningful absorption. The discipline of silence is not easily mastered. It requires self-control, as it often goes against our natural instincts. We are conditioned to react quickly, to fill silence with noise, to speak when we are uncomfortable, and to seek constant stimulation. But true silence demands that we resist these impulses. It requires the discipline to be still, to control our urge to speak, and to cultivate a sense of presence in the moment. This discipline is built over time, through practice and intentionality. Just as physical training strengthens our bodies, the discipline of silence strengthens our minds and spirits. It allows us to develop the ability to stay calm, to think clearly, and to respond thoughtfully, rather than react impulsively. In times of challenge or conflict, the discipline of silence becomes even more important. It is easy to speak out of anger, frustration, or fear, but silence provides the space for us to pause, reflect, and choose our response with care. Silence in these moments allows us to break the cycle of reactive behavior and approach the situation with greater clarity and wisdom. It helps us to manage our emotions, to listen carefully, and to respond with a sense of purpose, rather than being swept away by the moment. Ultimately, the discipline of silence is not about avoiding noise or conversation, but about making intentional choices in how we engage with the world around us. It is about training ourselves to be present, to listen, to observe, and to absorb in a way that goes beyond mere words or external input. Silence is a tool for deeper understanding, self-mastery, and greater connection with others. It is a discipline that requires practice, but when cultivated, it empowers us to navigate life with more awareness, purpose, and control. Through silence, we find the strength to be fully present in the moment, to absorb the lessons of life, and to respond with wisdom and clarity. In the fast-paced world we live in, decision-making often feels rushed. We are constantly faced with choices big and small that demand immediate attention and action. Yet making decisions in haste can lead to regret and missed opportunities. This is where silence becomes a powerful tool. Before making any decision, silence offers the space for careful consideration, allowing us to clear our minds, align our choices with our purpose, and ensure that we are moving in the direction of our vision. Silence helps us step away from the noise and clutter that often cloud our judgment. When we are bombarded with information, opinions, and external pressures, it can be difficult to make a clear, informed decision. The constant barrage of voices, whether they come from the world around us or from our own inner doubts, can overwhelm our ability to think clearly. Silence provides the relief from this noise. It creates a space where we can clear our minds, filter out distractions, and focus on what truly matters. In the stillness, we gain clarity. We are able to quiet the inner turmoil and find the peace necessary to make decisions with confidence. In addition to clearing the mind, silence allows us to reflect on our choices more deeply. Often when we are faced with a decision, we are quick to jump into action, seeking immediate solutions or answers. However, true wisdom comes from taking the time to reflect, to weigh the pros and cons, and to consider the long-term consequences of our actions. Silence gives us the opportunity to step back and look at the bigger picture. It encourages us to pause and ask ourselves important questions. What are my true values? Does this decision align with my purpose? Will this bring me closer to my vision for the future? By taking time to reflect in silence, we are able to make decisions that are thoughtful, deliberate, and aligned with our deepest intentions. Moreover, silence in decision-making allows us to tune into our intuition. In a world that values logic and analysis, we often overlook the power of our instincts, the quiet voice within that guides us toward the right path. In the hustle of everyday life, it's easy to ignore or dismiss our intuitive wisdom. But silence creates the space to listen to this inner voice, to hear the subtle nudges that can lead us to the right decision. When we embrace silence, we create the conditions for our intuition to rise to the surface, offering us insights and guidance that logic alone may not provide. Silence also helps us align our decisions with our greater purpose and vision. When we make decisions impulsively or reactively, we often lose sight of the bigger picture. Our choices may be driven by fear, pressure, or momentary desires, rather than by our true values and long-term goals. Silence offers the opportunity to reconnect with our deeper sense of purpose. It allows us to reflect on where we are headed, what we truly want to achieve, and how our decisions can bring us closer to that vision. In the stillness, we can ask ourselves, is this decision in line with my purpose? Will it take me closer to the person I want to become? Will it help me fulfill my mission? When our decisions are grounded in silence, they become more intentional, purposeful, and aligned with our true vision. In times of uncertainty, silence is especially valuable. When we are faced with complex decisions or moments of doubt, the noise of external opinions and internal fears can create confusion. Silence offers us the chance to step away from the chaos and center ourselves. It provides the mental and emotional space needed to gain clarity and trust our decision-making process. Rather than being swept away by anxiety or pressure, we can calmly evaluate our options and trust ourselves to make the right choice. In the end, silence is not a passive act in decision-making. It is an active and deliberate choice that empowers us to make decisions with wisdom, clarity, and purpose. It is the practice of stepping back before jumping forward, of creating space to reflect before acting. Silence helps us clear our minds, listen to our intuition, and align our decisions with our greater vision. It is through this intentional use of silence that we are able to make choices that are not just reactive, but purposeful, thoughtful, and in harmony with who we truly are and what we want to achieve. In times of conflict, emotions often run high. Words are exchanged in anger, frustration, or pain, and the situation can quickly escalate into something more intense. In these moments, silence holds a remarkable power. While the instinct in conflict may be to speak, defend, or react immediately, silence can provide the space needed for emotions to settle and clarity to emerge. Sometimes saying nothing at all is the most powerful response, allowing the situation to diffuse without further escalation. Silence in conflict is not about avoidance or withdrawal. It is a strategic choice to pause, reflect, and create the space for emotions to cool. When we engage in a heated argument, our emotions can cloud our judgment, leading us to say things we may regret or misunderstand the other person's intentions. Silence, however, offers us the opportunity to step back, allowing the emotional charge of the moment to dissipate. By choosing not to respond immediately, we avoid adding fuel to the fire, giving both ourselves and the other person time to breathe and regain composure. In the stillness, we create the space for reason to enter, enabling a more thoughtful and measured response when the time is right. In conflict, silence also offers a chance to listen deeply. Often in the heat of the moment, we become so focused on defending ourselves or making our point that we stop truly listening to the other person. We hear their words, but we don't hear their feelings, needs, or underlying concerns. Silence allows us to pause and listen, not just to the words being spoken, but to the emotions and intentions behind those words. By remaining silent, we give the other person the opportunity to express themselves fully, and in doing so, we gain a deeper understanding of their perspective. This can pave the way for empathy, connection, and resolution. Silence also allows for reflection during conflict. In the midst of tension, it can be difficult to think clearly. Our emotions take over and our reactions become driven by instinct rather than reason. By embracing silence, we create a moment of reflection where we can assess the situation more rationally. What is truly at the heart of this conflict? What is my role in this situation, and what do I hope to achieve? Silence gives us the time to reflect on these important questions and gain a clearer understanding of how to move forward in a way that is constructive, rather than reactive. Moreover, silence in conflict offers an opportunity for self-control. It is easy to react impulsively when we feel attacked or misunderstood. But silence teaches us discipline. It requires us to pause, resist the urge to speak out of anger, and remain composed. Self-control in conflict allows us to maintain our dignity and respond from a place of strength rather than weakness. It is in this silence that we develop the ability to control our emotions, keeping them from ruling our actions. Through this practice, silence empowers us to choose our words and actions carefully, ensuring that we respond with thoughtfulness rather than impulsivity. Sometimes saying nothing at all is the most powerful response in conflict. In moments when emotions are running too high, when words will only serve to escalate the situation, silence speaks volumes. It communicates that we are not driven by reactive impulses, that we are in control of ourselves, and that we are willing to allow the tension to settle before we engage. Silence in these moments can be a form of strength, showing that we are not interested in fueling the fire, but in finding a path toward understanding and resolution. In addition, silence can be an invitation to healing. When we are caught up in conflict, we often feel the need to be right, to win, or to defend ourselves. But silence creates a space for both parties to reflect, process, and heal. It removes the pressure of needing to speak or convince the other person of our point of view, allowing the emotional wounds to begin healing without further irritation. Silence, in this sense, can be the first step toward reconciliation, giving both sides the opportunity to regain their composure and approach the situation with a clearer mind. Ultimately, silence in conflict is a tool of peace. It is a conscious decision to not allow the heat of the moment to dictate our actions, but to create the conditions for calm, understanding, and resolution. Silence allows for emotions to settle, for reflection to occur, and for a more thoughtful and compassionate response to emerge. In the most tense moments, silence can be the greatest gift we give ourselves and others, a gift that has the power to de-escalate conflict and open the door to healing and understanding. In relationships, communication is often seen as the foundation upon which everything else is built. While words are crucial in expressing thoughts and feelings, silence can play an equally significant role in fostering deeper understanding and strengthening the bonds between individuals. Silence, when used intentionally, can serve as a bridge that connects us on a more profound level. It creates the space needed for growth, trust, and harmony to flourish. One of the most powerful impacts of silence in relationships is its ability to cultivate deeper understanding. Often in the rush of daily life, we may speak without fully listening, or we may misunderstand each other because we are too quick to respond. Silence offers us the chance to step back, to stop talking, and to truly listen not just to the words, but to the emotions, the unspoken messages, and the feelings that lie beneath. In this silence, we gain insight into the other person's perspective, thoughts, and needs. It helps us hear what is not being said, and in doing so, it opens the door to a greater understanding of each other. Silence, in this sense, is not an absence of communication, but a space for deeper, more meaningful communication to occur. Silence also plays a critical role in building trust in relationships. Trust is built over time, and one of the key ways it is established is through the ability to be present with each other in silence. Silence provides a safe space where two people can simply be together without the need to fill every moment with conversation. This shared quietness creates a sense of comfort and security, allowing both individuals to relax, to let down their guards, and to connect without the pressure of performing or constantly having to say the right thing. In these moments of quiet presence, trust is nurtured. We learn that we can be vulnerable, and that silence between us does not signal a lack of connection, but rather a deep, trusting bond that doesn't always require words. In relationships, silence also offers space for personal growth. Growth often requires introspection, and silence provides the perfect environment for self-reflection. When we are constantly talking, interacting, or seeking external validation, it becomes difficult to process our thoughts or understand our emotions. Silence offers us the opportunity to reflect on our own needs, desires, and feelings without the influence of others. This inner reflection can lead to a greater understanding of ourselves and ultimately contribute to personal growth. When we grow as individuals, we bring that growth into our relationships, making them more harmonious and fulfilling. Silence, in this sense, is not just about being quiet, but about creating the mental and emotional space for both individuals to grow and evolve. Moreover, silence allows for a natural harmony to emerge in relationships. Just as too much noise can create confusion, so can too much talking in relationships. Constant communication, while important, can sometimes become overwhelming or counterproductive, especially if it's filled with defensiveness, misunderstandings, or unmet expectations. Silence offers a counterbalance to this, providing the necessary pauses where each person can process, reflect, and recalibrate. In these moments of quiet, the relationship can breathe and find a rhythm that feels natural and balanced. Silence helps to prevent overload and allows both individuals to recharge, bringing a renewed sense of harmony and peace to the relationship. Silence also enables both partners to appreciate the value of companionship. Often the greatest moments in relationships are not marked by grand conversations, but by the simple act of sharing quiet time together. Whether it's sitting together in peaceful silence or simply being present in each other's company, these moments allow a relationship to deepen in a way that words cannot achieve. Silence becomes a shared experience that strengthens the bond between two people, creating an unspoken connection that is both powerful and enduring. In times of tension or disagreement, silence can also serve as a tool for resolution. Instead of escalating the conflict with heated words or arguments, choosing silence in these moments can allow both individuals to cool down, reflect, and approach the situation with greater clarity and perspective. Silence can act as a reset, creating space for the relationship to move past the immediate emotions and toward understanding and reconciliation. In this way, silence does not represent avoidance, but rather a conscious choice to create the conditions for healthier communication and resolution. The impact of silence on relationships is profound. It is a bridge that allows for deeper understanding, trust, and growth. Silence nurtures the space needed for harmony to emerge, providing an environment where both individuals can reflect, grow, and connect on a deeper level. Rather than seeing silence as an absence of communication, we can view it as a powerful tool, one that strengthens relationships by giving them room to breathe, evolve, and thrive. Through silence, we create space for connection, peace, and the kind of trust that forms the foundation of lasting, meaningful relationships. The power of silence is not found in its absence, but in its profound ability to bring clarity, wisdom, and strength. In a world that constantly demands our attention and words, silence stands as a quiet yet potent force that can shape our thoughts, our actions, and our relationships. It is in the stillness that we are able to hear the wisdom of our inner voice, to reflect deeply on our choices, and to make decisions that align with our true purpose. Silence is not a void, it is the fertile ground in which our thoughts, insights, and emotions are cultivated and allowed to grow. When we learn to embrace silence, we unlock the true potential within ourselves. It is through silence that we become better listeners, more thoughtful decision makers, and more self-aware individuals. Silence gives us the space to connect with our inner wisdom, to process our experiences, and to gain a deeper understanding of who we are. It is in these moments of quiet reflection that we find our strength, not from external validation or the noise of the world, but from within ourselves. Embracing silence allows us to tap into this strength, enabling us to navigate life with greater clarity and purpose. Silence also has the power to transform our relationships. It is in the pauses, the shared moments of quiet, that deeper connections are forged. Silence creates space for understanding, for trust, and for growth. By choosing silence in moments of conflict, we allow for emotions to settle and perspectives to emerge. In moments of stillness, we invite the opportunity for empathy, reflection, and healing. Silence, far from being a barrier, becomes a bridge that deepens our relationships and fosters harmony between us and others. The true power of silence lies in its ability to bring about transformation within ourselves and in our relationships. When we learn to embrace it, we discover a tool that enables us to act with greater wisdom, clarity, and intention. Silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of focus, purpose, and strength. It is through silence that we uncover our true potential, cultivate deeper connections, and navigate life with a sense of peace and purpose. In conclusion, silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the presence of power. It is a force that clears the mind, calms the spirit, and aligns us with our deepest purpose. When we embrace silence, we open the door to clarity, to wisdom, and to strength. It is in those moments of stillness that we hear the whispers of our true calling, that we reflect on the decisions that shape our destiny, and that we find the strength to act with intention and purpose. Silence is the fertile ground in which the seeds of greatness are sown. In our relationships, silence is the bridge that connects us to others in ways words cannot. It is in the quiet moments of shared presence that trust is built, understanding deepens, and true connection is forged. Silence gives us the space to listen, to reflect, and to grow. It is not a retreat from the world, but a powerful choice to engage with it on a deeper level. When we learn to embrace silence, we unlock the true potential within ourselves. We discover the power to think clearly, to act decisively, and to relate with wisdom. We are not moved by the noise of the world, but we move the world with the power of silence. It is in this silence that we find our greatest strength to heal, to build, to create, and to lead. So I challenge you today to embrace the power of silence. Allow it to be your guide, your refuge, and your source of strength. For in the silence, you will find the key to unlocking your fullest potential and the deepest purpose of your life.